The Cold War was a time of tension between the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and the United States. It persisted from around 1945 to 1991. The war was never declared indefinitely, rather it progressed over time. The Cold War was between the East, which was the Soviet Union, and the West, which was the US, Canada, France, Britain, and Japan. These sides started to waver between 1945, and in 1947 the Cold War was fully visible. The Korean Peninsula extends 600 miles out from the Asian mainland. It has been a center of power disputes for hundreds of years. In the early 1900s, the Japanese became the dominant power in Korea. Korea repeatedly tried to gain their independence from Japan, but failed every time. After America defeated Japan in World War II, Korea became an independent state. After the surrender of Japan, the Allied powers had to decide on who would govern Korea. The Japanese surrendered and the Soviet Union occupied Korea north of the 38th parallel. America then occupied south of the 38th parallel. Korea was intended to eventually govern itself, but Russia built fortifications on the border between north and south. By 1948, most U.S. troops had left Korea and gone home or to Japan to help rebuild the broken nation. The U.S. decided to have the UN make negotiations in Korea, but the Soviets would not let them into the north. By late 1948, most of the Soviets had left Korea, leaving a Soviet-backed North Korea and an American-supported South Korea. The North had a dictatorship and the South had a republic government. The development of North and South Korea was largely influenced by their occupying countries. The South was occupied by America and the North was occupied by the Soviet Union. America resisted Korean independent movements and appointed Syngman Rhee as the head of the Southern government. Rhee was an anti-communist and targeted 50,000 suspected communists. In the North, the Soviet Union placed Kim Il-sung as ruler of the interim government. Sung, like Rhee, murdered people that opposed his political views. The UN was unsuccessful, and in 1948, North and South Korea became independent states. The 38th parallels became the most militarized border in the world. Frequent shoot-offs and skirmishes eventually start war in 1950. In 1950, North Korea invaded the South, prompting a response from the US and a UN-backed coalition force. For the next 3 years, the US defended South Korea. The Soviets assisted to build a communist regime in North Korea. President Truman then dispatched U.S. land, air, and sea forces to Korea. North Korean forces then marched into South Korea. After 3 years of a bloody and frustrating war, the United States, the People's Republic of China, North Korea, and South Korea agreed to cease fire, bringing the Korean War to an end.